Hi guys, welcome to episode 2 of Amaranth X Arts' Flosstube. Today I'm going to go over one little finished object from 2024 that and the reasons why. I'm probably not going to do another one like it for a very long time. I'm going to have a look at some of those little experiments that I was talking about in the last episode and what's happening with them. Also a little bit of a giveaway for the Etsy shop. And then I've also got my little design book. Woo. So, of course, every great designer needs to have their little design book. And this one was great because it came with the little grid pages. And so currently I'm just designing up all of the little squares that you've been seeing. So there's some for 18 count and some 25 counts. And just playing with them and stitching them up. So just looking at them. So some of the ones that were for the 18 count, I also decided to do on the 25 count. So you can see that one. Or maybe you can, maybe you can't. That's one of them. So they're tiny on the 25 count, whereas when they're stitched on the 18 count, it'll come out to about 1 inch by 1 inch. Like these bigger 25 count ones there. So what's going to happen with these? This is my experiments, and they've been a little bit fun, a little bit disappointing. I may have destroyed the first 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I'll just show you. What does a 1 inch square look like as jewelry? Again, my camera doesn't want to show you in depth. I might have to actually just insert some photos. I'll put some photos in for this. So anyways, that was the first one. A little bit of an explanation as to why I think I've actually destroyed the cross stitch in here. And hard to see, but around the edges it's stitched in white, and there's a little bit of white in the middle as well. Some hearts showing up in there. If you can't see them. And the reason you can't see them is because I didn't seal the cross stitch before I put it into the bezel and then put the resin on it. So foolish me. I didn't actually go and look and see some tutorials on good old YouTube that would explain that the resin was actually going to make anything that was white essentially, and of a natural sort of fiber type, was going to go translucent. So essentially in this one you can't see the white, but unless you put it under UV light, and then you can see it, but you can't see the white really in daylight because the resin has reacted and caused it to go translucent. The gold, woohoo for metallic thread, actually survives resin. So, and black, but I think that's only because black is super dyed to the nth degree, I guess you could say. So the black is fine, but it's the lighter colors, and I think it might have even bled somehow the dyed fabric in the background. So not great. And also this was my first attempt at resin, UV resin, and it's got bubbles. Yeah, bubbles. So yet again, practice. This was attempt 2. Now you can probably see that the white is starting to show up. So a bit of a different design because all of the little squares I've been stitching, I've been using different colors in different spots. So slightly different to the last one. Oh, very different to the last one. But you can see the white, you can start to see the white lines in this one. The resin in this one actually came up quite nice. Did a good job. Have to remember how I did it. So, now the question, how did I get the white not to go translucent? So this one I did 2 thin coats of PVA either side, front and back, just to make sure that everything, all 360 degrees, was sealed. And then I put the resin on. It did kind of dull it a little bit, but you can see the white. Now, number 3, experiment number 3 with this. Okay, this one's kind of similar to the last one, but slightly different. Now, hopefully you can pick it up on the camera. Sorry, I keep looking sideways because my screen is over there and my camera is over here because, you know, positioning, light, etc, etc. Anyways, this one, the white is good. And in fact, this one had a little bit of mottling in the background with my hand dyed Ida, so you can see a little bit of the ashy color and a little bit of the jade coming through, slightly. But like all the white came through bright and everything. The difference with this one was that I applied 3 coats of PVA to each side, making sure it was all sealed, and I let it cure for 24 hours. Another thing, I did do some YouTube exploration to try to figure out what was going on with my earlier experiments, and I wasn't letting it cure very long. So for this one, I let it cure the 24 hours and everything is bright. It looks like what it was before I put the resin on, except I don't know if you can see it, but hopefully I'll put up some closer photos. Bubbles galore. My resin wasn't so great on this one. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe I tipped it a little when it was going into the UV light, because my UV light's got this little bar down the bottom. It's supposed to be for nails, so you just stick your hands in it. But I think because it tips down, it might have moved it around a little bit. Or the other thing I'm thinking is I may have hovered the flame, because you have to hover a flame over, well, you don't have to, but you can hover a flame over it to try to bring any bubbles that are trapped between the fabric and the resin to the surface and get rid of them. You may have hovered that flame a bit too long and it might have had the opposite reaction and created more bubbles. So it seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong, put it down in the comments, but it seems to be that there's a very short time frame that you've got for putting the flame over the resin before you put it into cure without messing it up. So to get rid of the bubbles, but not to create 1,000 more bubbles. Anyways, so now what's happening is I've got number 4 ready to go. So it's been PVA'd 3 times either side, and I've just glued it with some strong glue into the bevel now, and I'm going to let that sit until 24 hours. So probably tomorrow night I might start experimenting with that. And I've got a couple of others, they're not here, I'm not going to show you, but itty bitties that I want to turn into charms, because I have another little, it's an earring silicone mold for resin, but I'm going to see if I can make little cross stitch embedded charms with the resin. So that's cool, and that's lots of fun. Get to keep stitching away and designing more squares. I'm actually really enjoying it. I hope it works out. We'll see. If they do start to work out, then I will potentially put them on the Etsy store, but we'll see. So another thing for this month, talking about the Etsy store, I'll just get this out. I have decided that the first 20 orders in February, now that I've started restocking with more stock, will receive a little handmade notebook. Cute. You can chuck that one into your bag with your grocery list, or you could write little notes, you could do some art journaling with it, you can print out copies of all of your finished cross stitches and stick them into the little pages, and you can keep a record of what you've been doing. These were something that I handmade myself, completely from scratch, cutting out the cardboard, putting on the fabric, stitching all of the pieces of paper together, It was a lot of fun. However, they weren't that popular at a market, but you get them for free. So there's different ones. It will be random selection and there'll only be one per purchaser. So even if you do very generously purchase more than one thing in the month of February or beyond, if I can't get them out in February, you won't get a second book. I always give a little freebie though, so you'll get something else instead. But all sorts, lots of little different types. I'll see if I can match them to whatever your order is. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, so that's that for that. Oh, and I did promise you to show you something that I did actually finish, a cross stitch project that I did actually finish in 2024. Big story behind this one. Okay, so my daughter is obsessed with musicals at the moment. For her birthday, which is in September, we booked in to see a local production of The Little Shop of Horrors. And I thought, what a great idea. I'll go onto Etsy, see if I can get something Little Shop of Horrors related, which I am not going to post the link to the store in here because since doing this, done a little bit more research, and it is more than likely trademark infringement, but I haven't checked to see. They might have the license for it, so I don't know. But anyways, I just stitched it up for me. Don't anyone from Little Shop of Horrors come and get me. So I thought, you know what, I'll just get a t-shirt and I'll stitch on an Audrey. So if you've ever seen Little Shop of Horrors, you know who Audrey is. Actually, it's Audrey 2, not Audrey. Audrey 2, the plant. And I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, that's a nice little pattern. I could do that pattern, no problems. I've already got some washable Ida to put on it. It'll be fine. And then I started planning it out, and it turned out huge. Oops. So we saw Little Shop of Horrors in October. Her birthday was in September. I had about a month between in order to stitch it. She got it in December. Whoops. But come on. That took forever. And last week I may have lied a little bit when I said that I didn't have any whips. I'm not going to show it. It's the whip we do not name. It is a HAED, so an HAED, Heaven and Earth design project, full coverage, supersized, 240 max color, 240 colors. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, but I'm only onto the second page. I've probably had this pattern for over a year. I think this might be my deathbed project. So I won't show you. It is the Breakfast in Bed by Amy Stewart. So if you do want to go over to the Heaven and Earth designs and have a look and see which one it is that I'm working on. And I have taken a chunk out of it myself. I just eyeballed the pattern to see where this nice little chunk was, and I'm just stitching up that chunk. And even just stitching up that chunk will probably still be up until my deathbed. But you never know. Maybe I'll miraculously get some time this year. Or not. That's pretty much it from me. I'd really love any sort of comments that you've got regarding either what I'm working on, my little experiments, or the books, or some design suggestions, colors. Speaking of colors, I'm so excited. This morning, 2 more dye lots for Flosstube number 2 have actually gone onto the line. So they're dyed, they're out there getting their UV rays and setting in that dye, and then they get to come off, get ironed and packaged up and onto Etsy. And I'm really, really impressed by these colors, so I'm hoping you guys are too. A little hint, think of summer for one, think of candy for another. All right, well, until Flosstube number 3, I'll see you around.